For my speech, the advocate's argument is that the current United States welfare system traps people in the cycle of poverty, and that's supported by current welfare programs create dependency rather than incentive to work, and the transition of receiving benefits is ineffective. My main claim to refute this statement is that welfare doesn't trap people in poverty, it actually helps them out of it. My first supporting claim is that welfare lifts people out of poverty. A lot of people misinterpret the meaning of the word welfare, so I'm going to define it by saying that welfare refers to several different government assistance programs that provide help to Americans struggling with poverty in distinct different ways. And the first point of my first supporting claim is that there are over 100 welfare programs that help 48 million people out of poverty. This year, there's about 12.8 million people using welfare, and within that welfare poverty line, it's at about 14.5%. Without the help of welfare, including food stamps, our poverty would be at 17%. Without Social Security for the ages 65 and up, the poverty would increase to 52.67%. Without tax credits, it'd be 22.8%. So, the advocate stated that 39 states pay more in welfare than a job that pays $8 minimum wage. And here I have a fact that says that people that have welfare are required to work, and one of the welfare programs, TNAF, requires that able-bodied adults with children have to find a job within 3 months and work at least 20 hours a week. Thus, fighting the statement that government assistance focuses on welfare instead of the incentives of jobs. And then 54% of families in 2018 are on welfare, but have at least one of the family members working. The advocate stated that families trying to rise out of poverty face high taxes, and that they are lazy and rather simply living off of welfare in a smart direction. For my second claim is transition out of welfare benefits are effective. The TANF, also known as Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, law was passed by Congress in 1996 that said the cash assistance should be limited to no more than 5 years over a lifetime. However, my advocate said that 20% of recipients that receive aid are on it for longer than 5 years. But in opposition to that, that means that there's 80% on welfare that are less than 5 years. So they're going in accordance with the law that was passed by Congress. They also state that retraining had little to no effect on people that experienced welfare and retraining, but even college students that graduate with a 4-year degree, 33% of those people that come out of college don't even get into the job field that they want to, and 37% are barely within their major. My second point of the second claim is that American measures that welfare system poverty around 50% can go down 2 to 3% a year with welfare. And then single parents receiving the TANF must receive at least 30 hours per week, and then 2-parent families must work 35 to 50 hours a week. The reason that people are on welfare is for assistance and the high cost of living in America, not laziness. And 82%, or the Census Bureau data proves yearly that welfare programs are helping people get back on their feet. 82% of all food stamp money goes to households that include children, elderly people, and people with disabilities that are legally and physically cannot work. And then increasing funding would not only help the poverty line, but it would increase it would increase the economy and protect the middle class.
All right, well, you are developing a counterclaim to the advocate's main proposition. That's okay. I do think that it might be easier to follow the arguments if you were focusing on the secondary claims a little bit more distinctly. The argument that welfare lifts people out of poverty, you start with a series of numbers that I think are useful to your point, but not always clear. For example, how the various programs, you've got these statistics that say, at this level it's 14%, at this level it would be 17%, without this it would be 55%. In essence, I guess the argument is that from a technical point of view, they don't meet the qualifications of poverty because they've been given money that puts them into a different category. I'm not exactly sure that means that they aren't, they don't continue to be poor. It just means that they've moved out of the category because of the amount of money that they have available or assistance that they have. The notion that they have gotten jobs and have moved out, I think that's a little bit more problematic. I think you've got a better argument later on where you deal with that issue. On the work for welfare issue, your claim states that people have to work in order to be able to get assistance. You cite a piece of information. It wasn't clear if that was a state rule, if it's a nationwide rule, what the amount of time is. I think that that's an interesting point, although you come back to this same point late in the speech. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be responding to a different point or not. And you've got the number of hours that they're required to work a week in order to get assistance. But then you say that 82% of the people who get money aren't able to work, in which case it seems to suggest that these rules don't have much meaning about getting a job because 82% of the people who are getting this assistance can't work. They're elderly, they're children, or they're disabled in some way. And I think that that's a little bit confusing to the general position that you're taking here. The argument that says that there's a limitation on how long people can have access to welfare, I thought your interpretation there was pretty reasonable. If 20% of them, though, are still getting it in violation of what the policies and rules are, that sounds to me like there's also a problem with the policies and rules, although your inference that 80% are off within 5 years or less, that seems like a reasonable interpretation of what's going on there. I didn't understand the whole point of your retraining issue and the issue about the college grads and whether or not they're working in the field that they did their studies in. It may apply to the advocate's claim about retraining, but I don't know how. It seems like you're just reading information. There's not really much explanation about how I should evaluate that in the process. Okay, thank you.